So today we're back on the 66. It's been a couple of months. We bought this truck back in November. I finally got the title for the truck. I had to apply for an abandoned title due to just a lost title over the years. It wasn't that difficult to get, but I had to wait the time. I didn't want to spend any money on the truck just in case there was any issues. So we got the title and the plates, and I've gone ahead and ordered all these parts. We got a master cylinder, I got brake calipers, I have brake shoes, spark plugs, oil filter, oil and over there on the shelf, and just a bunch of miscellaneous parts. I also need to replace the ignition. The key had broken off, so I couldn't get the lock cylinder out. We're gonna do that today as well. Luckily, on the red truck, we put a lowering kit and took the old front twin I-beam suspension off. So I have that as a spare to put on this truck. That's gonna give me disc brakes up front. So I've gotten a master cylinder from a 1976 F100. I'm gonna bolt it up to this truck. It should bolt up, everything should go fine. And after we've got all that done, we're gonna run new brake lines. So we have a lot of work to do today to get this thing to be able to stop. I actually fired it up and drove it in here. It took a little bit because the choke's not hooked up, but it did fire up. The engine's a little worn out, a lot of blow by. We'll address that later. Hopefully we can get those rings to come around. Got some tricks we could put into those cylinders to get those loosened up. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get this thing cleaned off. There's a bunch of snow on it, make sure everything's dry. Tackle the back brakes, then the master cylinder, and go from there. These parts out. Almost fell getting out of truck. Sitting on left or right, we tune her up and put some brakes on it. I hope. Maybe. We'll see. The first thing I'm going to do, I know I said I was going to do brakes, but I'm going to address the ignition. So the key broke off inside of the ignition, and to get this apart, you have to have the key to slide the lock mechanism out of the ignition, and then you can take everything apart by squeezing it and twisting it. I ordered some new stuff from Dennis Carpenter. I got the new cover because I definitely messed that one up. And a new solenoid. I'm gonna get this old solenoid taken off of here, the new one all installed, and lock it in place, and then we'll move on to other things. This will just get me to a point where I can use the key to start it instead of using my lone wolf trigger. First thing to do is get the old one off. Before I get started installing this, well, I'm already started installing it. Before I put this into the dashboard, I want to show you guys how it works. There's not really a lot of videos on how this mechanism works as far as how it clamps into the dashboard. It's a compression type of connection. There's a small dimple on one side of the solenoid and a large dimple on the other. The, I guess, cap for the front slides over this and compresses with the spring and locks into place. And there's this little sleeve on the back. You cannot compress this and twist it if this lock cylinder is in the solenoid. It will not allow it to compress past these pieces here and twist out. So if you do not have the key, you cannot take this out. I'm going to assemble this and then I'm going to disassemble it while it's in the truck to show you guys how it works. But basically this sleeve slides over top the spring here, and then this guy, the front cover, slides on in the right orientation, push it down and twists into place, and that is how it's held in the dashboard. The dashboard is going to sit right here on this sleeve, and then the plug locks down in the back with a locking nut. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this into the dashboard and get it installed. So I'm going to put this sleeve onto the solenoid on the spring. This is going to go from the back. There are these little tangs on the side of this cover that go into the corresponding tangs on the dashboard piece. Make sure it's in the right orientation, get it slid into place, take your solenoid, come up behind the dash. You should be able to get it slid into place. Should be the key word here. So, locked in, compressor spring, twist, you're installed. Then you just install your plug on the back and then go ahead and put your key in. So before you can install the lock cylinder, you needed to compress this pin through this hole and then turn this key to, I believe it's the left, because there is a flat spot on this lock cylinder that has a corresponding flat spot inside this solenoid to let this lock pass through. Make sure you get that lined up and then slide that into place. And then once you have it into place, you should be able to turn the key. And you're good to go. That's how you install the solenoid and the lock cylinder, and the same way goes for taking it out. To take this cylinder out, you need to go ahead and take the key and turn it to the ACC position. Press in the pin, slide it to the right, I believe. Maybe it's the left. Slide it one way or the other. To the left, a little bit past ACC, and then this cylinder comes out. Set that to the side. Compress and twist your solenoid to the, I believe it's left, and then the whole system comes out. So to disassemble it, you have to have the key, you have to have a safety pin or a small needle to push the lock solenoid, and to reinstall it, you basically do the same thing. Put your cover on, make sure it's in the right orientation, slide your cylinder on with the pins to the correct side, small pin on the left, larger pin on the right, compress it, twist it clockwise with your right hand. Grab your lock cylinder. Make sure these two tangs are sticking up. Make sure the flat spot on the lock cylinder is vertical and to the right side. Take that, slide it in. Get seats all the way, turn it to the ACC position, turn it to the off position. Your key comes out, you're installed. Reinstall the wiring harness to the back, put the lock nut on, and you're good to go. And that's how you do your ignition in a 66 F100. There's first, there's second. Let's go ahead and put it in drive. There's reverse.